and welcome to another webinar from the Philips Lighting University. In this webinar, the topic is Digital Technology in Smart Cities, and it will be presented to you by Monica Woodley from the Economist Intelligence Unit. My colleague, Suzanne Seitinger, who is the segment lead for the public segment, will give you a short introduction.
In recent years, digital technology has really accelerated how we as humans communicate with one another. And increasingly what that has led to is a citizen desire to have that same kind of fluid experience when they interact with different kinds of city infrastructure and services. And with all of these services now so close at hand, digital technologies are no longer just an option for planning and managing cities. They are actually becoming a central part of the work of governing and government. So enabling these types of fast and open digital communications, however, also brings challenges with it. In fact, many different challenges, both for leaders and for constituents and for businesses. And so one of the things we want to focus on today is a part of the puzzle that much of the smart cities debate has skirted, topics like governance, accountability, and new opportunities to really generate benefits for citizens. And we worked with the Economist Intelligence Unit to dig into some of these questions, and we're here today to hear the real story on how citizens and businesses are driving smart cities. Monica Woodley from The Economist is going to walk us through this story. She's the editorial director for the EIU's Thought Leadership Division in EMEA. She manages a team of editors across the whole region who develop special research programs for all types of clients, from banks such as Barclays to other kinds of firms across the board, developing really interesting reports around innovation ecosystems, financial regulation, retail innovation, all kinds of different topics within her remit. She also regularly chairs and presents at economist conferences such as Bellwether Europe, the Insurance Summit, or the Future of Banking, but also at other events such as Globe's Israel Business Conference, the UN Annual Forum on Business and Human Rights, and the Geneva Association General Assembly. She holds a master's degree in politics from Georgetown University and is an urbanite in her own right and has lived in many different cities around the world, which has taken her from places like LA to London to Paris to DC and beyond. She's also an avid explorer of cities, and so I'm particularly excited to have her give us this tour today to really provide some interesting insights on where she thinks, and the study shows, people think smart cities are going. We'd like to encourage you, as Diana said, to ask questions, as many as possible. I'll be monitoring on the chat, and we'll and try to also bundle them and make sure we answer all of them. So with that, thank you very much, Monica, for being here, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. It's a pleasure to be here, and hello to everyone out there on the internet. As Suzanne said, this research is a program developed by the EIU on behalf of Philips Lighting, and really the goal of this was to assess the progress of cities towards adopting smart technologies and then investigating how that technology is empowering citizens and businesses to shape their cities. So the research brings together the views of citizens, businesses, government leaders, and experts, really recognizing that the participation of all stakeholders is needed to realize the potential of the smart city. We felt this research was really important and relevant at this moment in time because digital technologies have really become the lifeblood of today's cities. Sensors can turn any object into part of an intelligent urban network, and computing power facilitates analysis of the data the sensors collect. This gives elected officials and city administrators an unparalleled understanding of the infrastructure and services of their city. However, it's really citizen engagement that's essential for feedback on everything from streetlight outages to bigger issues such as the city budget. And this engagement has important implications for policymakers as they pursue their smart city strategies. Investing in hardware and software is essential, but so is a shift in the culture of their organizations, moving away from an exclusively top-down approach to one in which all stakeholders have a voice in shaping the future of their city. So in order to understand how citizens and businesses are already interacting with their cities, how they would like to interact, as well as where they are already seeing the impact of digital technologies and where they anticipate seeing the impact of technology in the future, we surveyed people in 12 cities: Barcelona, Berlin, Buenos Aires, Chicago, London, Los Angeles, Mexico City, New York City, Rio de Janeiro, Shanghai, Singapore, and Toronto, about 2,500 people in total. In addition to the survey data, we also conducted in-depth interviews with a range of different experts in different cities around the world, which really helps to paint a fresh picture of how digital technologies can empower people to contribute. And it also, I hope, gives city officials a roadmap to smart city life in the 21st century. So today I'm going to be talking you through the key findings of the research and also giving some recommendations about how to make the most of smart cities. What I felt was really clear from the research is that citizens and businesses are both very keen to work with municipal leaders on improving life in the city, with our respondents' answers showing a willingness to share personal data and engage more fully in smart city developments. However, cities can, should do more to provide the communication channels and transparency needed to build trust among their inhabitants and facilitate their participation in urban development, and hopefully also to demystify city planning in the process. Before I go too in depth on the key findings, I'd like to start with our first poll question. So you should see that on the screen now, but I'll also read it out. We'll be asking you a few more of these over the course of the webinar. But the first question is, in which areas do you feel digital technologies have provided the most noticeable improvements to daily life in your city in the past 3 years? We've given a kind of shortened version of the list of options that were given to our survey respondents, but these are telecoms, transport, waste collection and treatment and recycling, social services, emergency services, and crime prevention. So if you could take a moment to answer that poll question for us. And here you will see the results of our survey. So we'll see how your responses compare to this. You can see that in the past 3 years, telecoms has come out tops in terms of the improvement seen, and I guess that's unexpected, considering that it's a very easy thing to see with getting new Wi-Fi and broadband connections. But transport was also very high on the list. About a third of our respondents said that digital technology has improved transport services in the past 3 years, and a quarter of businesses also see it as an area that will improve in the near future. We found that smart technologies can manage issues from traffic congestion to identifying road defects to helping to shape transport networks according to demand. One of our interviewees said that transportation is really the low-hanging fruit. If a city can show increased transportation through data analytics, it's instantly going to win people over because everybody cares about transit. And I have to say, as a resident of London who deals with transportation every day, that's very much the case. You can see quite easily how the improvements, the open data portals that give us apps to tell us when buses arrive, it really does improve the experience. We did see a couple of other examples in other cities. For instance, in Boston, residents can use their smartphones to track road defects. They're captured against the driver's GPS location and uploaded to a server for analysis. This is an app called Street Bump. And the data collected from this app allows municipal authorities to detect potholes and other road issues, which enable them to make better decisions about where to invest in the road network. Another example we found was called click fix, and this automatically sends images or descriptions of problems to the appropriate government agencies with geolocation technology marking precisely where the problem occurs. These technologies have important implications for the way that city governments manage urban infrastructure, allowing them to receive information that's both timely and accurate directly from their citizens. We spoke with Ingrid van Ingelshoven, who is the deputy mayor of The Hague in the Netherlands, and she said that it's easier to react to this than any other form of communication because we have a picture and we can see exactly what's going on. However, obviously, the impact of digital technology goes beyond transport, from sensors that can receive and transmit information to data analytics systems. Digital technologies can facilitate the real-time or near real-time monitoring of infrastructure such as power and water networks, improving the efficiency of those assets and also addressing vulnerabilities before they become problematic. We spoke with Sarah Williams, who is the director of the Civic Data Design Lab at MIT, and she cites the example of water management, which is becoming more important as climate change leads to more severe and frequent weather events. She said it's essential we know how much stormwater is running off in order to manage it. If we don't have that data, we can't do that work. You'll also see on the slide where survey respondents expect to see improvements over the next 3 years, and along with continued improvements in transport and telecoms, they also point to changes in social services, such as education and healthcare, emergency and crime prevention services, and also pollution reduction and environmental sustainability. So I guess if we could see the polling results.
Yeah, how do we compare, Monica, to the survey respondents out there?
Okay, so telecom has got 15%.
Okay.
Transport 9%. Then waste collection only 1%. Social services 2%. And emergency 4%. So telecoms and transport are the main choices here.
Great. Thanks very much. So just to make sure you guys are staying on your toes, I'd like to ask you another poll question. They are going to come a bit fast and furious in the first few minutes, but there are just 4 in total, I promise. The next one up is a simple one. So just, do you agree or disagree with this statement? In my city, the government offers a wide range of digital technologies that enable citizens to send reports and suggest improvements on urban infrastructure and services. So just choose one of those answers, and we will see again how you compare with our survey respondents. So we showed you with that previous slide where people have seen or expect to see improvements in their cities. But what about where they feel that they can provide feedback and really have an impact? Well, first of all, about a third of citizens in our survey are currently providing feedback to their local authorities, but over 1/2 say that they would like to do so. The top 3 areas in which they feel that they can guide the improvements of infrastructure and services are social services, pollution reduction and environmental sustainability, waste collection, treatment, and recycling. However, we did find that when it comes to smart city projects specifically, that much fewer, probably about 15% of respondents, believe that they can actually make any meaningful contributions. One of our interviewees, Jarmo Ekos-Lennon, apologies, Jarmo, I probably got that horribly wrong, Chief Innovation and Technology Officer at Future Cities Catapult, which is a London-based centre for the advancement of smart cities. He said that cities have really been quite slow to step into the dialogue process with citizens on smart cities. So we're seeing an appetite there, and it's really it's up to cities to take advantage of that enthusiasm. We found that 45% of citizens agree or strongly agree that their government offers a wide range of digital technologies that enable citizens to send reports and suggest improvements on urban infrastructure. So Dion, just pipe up when you've got the poll results from our audience to compare to that. we also found that 40% of our survey respondents, again, agree or strongly agree that their city regularly engages citizens in public decision-making around the improvements to urban infrastructure and services. Do we have those poll results now?
Okay. Most people actually disagree, 23%. And then it's a bit scattered. So we have 12% agreeing, 12% neither agree nor disagree. Then there's 9% strongly disagreeing and 4% strongly agreeing.
Okay. Well, obviously not knowing where our audience are located, that's interesting to see that perhaps not everyone is having the same access to digital technologies as in the cities that we surveyed. And as I said, we are going to have a few poll questions in a row. So here is our third one, and then I promise I'll let you just sit back and listen for a while. This question is, in your city, which of the following options would increase your level of engagement and participation in your community? So first of all, wider access to public digital platforms that enable citizens and decision makers to communicate and collaborate, more information about smart city projects, expansion of free Wi-Fi access in public spaces, greater availability of peer-to-peer information sharing networks, or greater involvement from the private sector in smart city projects. Now, we found through our survey that citizens prefer the usual suspects, so social media and email, as the means to interact with local governments. Overall, the desire for digital communication channels and transparencies in city services is strong. A large number of citizens want wider access to digital platforms to enable them to communicate with government, and they believe that the expansion of free internet access in public spaces and more information about smart city projects would encourage them to engage further. But sometimes I think the focus is really on all of the exciting things that smart cities can do, and governments can lose sight of the basics. So we found that even in a very modern, advanced city like New York, 22% of citizens still lack broadband access at home. And this means governments really need to think about the types of access to the digital communication channels they create for their citizens. But beyond the somewhat straightforward types of feedback, like telling cities where there are potholes and such, new digital channels are also helping to shift the traditional relationship between municipal governments and their constituents in more complex areas, such as developing legislation. We saw a great example in Pittsburgh, which was one of the first cities to have its whole senior leadership team do an Ask Me Anything Reddit. Before city officials opened data legislation, they posted the draft online so that people could comment on a Google Doc. In addition, they had an ongoing Twitter town hall when the legislation was being discussed. And the mayor, William Peduto, is also on Twitter, regularly interacting with his 45,000 followers. His staff joke that really the fastest way to get an answer out of him is to tweet him, which is an interesting approach for a mayor. Let's see, could we get the results of that last poll, please? Which of the options had the highest level of response?
So the first one, wider access to public digital platforms, has got the most results, 29%. Second one is more information about smart city projects, which is 19%. And then 14% for expansion of free Wi-Fi access in public spaces. 12% for greater involvement from the private sector, and 7% for greater availability of peer-to-peer information sharing.
Okay, that's interesting because that very much mirrors the response that we saw from our survey respondents of the order in which they felt that those options would help increase their engagement. Okay. So the survey also revealed that about half or over half, 54% of citizens have an interest in participating in hackathons. These are events in which computer programmers and others collaborate on software design or similar events, even though few, about 16%, have ever done so. Some cities are responding, but they need to do more than just organize idea-generating events, according to one of our interviewees, Leanne Doody, who is the executive director and leader of work on smart cities at Arup, which is a London-based global design, planning, and engineering firm. She said you have to have the infrastructure to turn those ideas into initiatives in a sustainable way and to make sure that it's targeted at specific city problems. So while those events are great for encouraging people to get involved, we really need to see the results of those. Cities are making their data publicly accessible. We did find that open data portals have yet to take off, but it was just a relatively small group, about 10% of our survey respondents saying that they use these to engage with their cities. Even so, while citizens are not interacting with this data directly, many of them use them via apps for everything from finding schools to checking the status of local transport, as with my favorite bus stop app. Ms. Doody said that there's a limited number of people who love data for its own sake, but they will use the services that are built on top of them. One example that we found of a tool that is utilizing open data is the Beeline app. This is a technology that allows Singapore's residents to book seats on buses run by private operators in areas that are not served by public transportation. But the technology does more than just making it easier to get around, because users can also suggest routes for the bus. The app, which was developed by the Government Digital Services team at Singapore's Infocom Development Authority, the app helps operators to predict demand and in turn to improve bus schedules and routes. Now, we spoke to businesses as well as citizens, and what we found is really that they are very willing partners in getting involved and promoting smart cities. We found that businesses are keen to facilitate citizen engagement in strategic long-term planning. Almost 3/4 of our executive respondents say that their company would be interested in sponsoring or participating in hackathons or similar initiatives designed to improve city infrastructure and services. And like citizens, businesses call for more transparency and more channels of communication when it comes to smart city initiatives. Most executives urge the government to do more to engage businesses in public decision-making around improvements to urban infrastructure and services, and believe that it should be investing more heavily in digital technologies that enable those businesses to play a role in urban improvements. The majority of the executives also say that improved digital communication channels would encourage them to provide cities with feedback. And I think they're keen to get involved because they're seeing the benefits of being in smart cities. In a world where salaries and benefits are no longer the only factors needed to attract and retain the best and brightest employees, recruiters know that living standards and amenities in the city in which their company is located are also important to prospective interviewees. We found over half, 53% of the executives we surveyed, say that smart city initiatives play a role in attracting and retaining the top talent. And 46% of them say that they see bottom line benefits from smart city initiatives. So we've got some willing involvement, but it's not completely altruistic. They are seeing directly the benefits themselves from being located in smart cities.
And Monica, this was across the board, right? In countries, across the board in cities.
Yeah, we did find quite similar levels of engagement and willingness to engage across the cities. That's correct. And now we'll just give you our final poll question. In which of the following areas would you be prepared to share personal data with city government for the express purpose of making improvements to infrastructure and services? So we've got a bit of a long list here. Reduced pollution and energy consumption, improvements in environmental sustainability, a vibrant city life and leisure activities, faster access to city services and more transparency, improvement to quality and affordability of social services, reduced traffic congestion in your area, improved commuter networks, improved waste management services, or no areas. I would not be interested in sharing my details under any circumstances. So while you guys are answering that final poll question, I'd just like to start giving you some of our conclusions. So we found that finding ways to deliver public services more efficiently and at a lower cost is really a key concern at a time when city populations are expanding and public sector budgets are shrinking. Technology offers a way forward at two levels, top down and bottom up. At the top, investments in connected infrastructure enable cities to run more smoothly and at lower cost. But with a bottom-up approach, they can harness not only the data that residents generate as they use city amenities and services, but also the ideas that they have on how to make cities more livable. While citizens are eager to provide feedback to cities via digital channels and are willing to share their data, levels of trust will depend on how well cities respond to service requests from citizens and how they use citizen data to plan and improve city services. One of our interviewees said, "There's a false assumption that if you open things up and people can complain, it will make things better. Cities can only get better if someone is responding to that complaint." Now, while technology is clearly a powerful tool for soliciting feedback from the consumers of city services, its value will only be realized if cities can develop a culture based on partnership and collaboration. Another of our interviewees said, "If we can develop the right platforms, people can make a crucial contribution to addressing problems such as energy, traffic, healthcare, food distribution, and education." The majority of our survey respondents say they feel less engaged with smart city projects than they do with other city services and areas of urban governance. So engaging citizens on long-term infrastructure investments, it's not easy. It's not as easy as engaging them on those kind of day-to-day public services. But as visualization technology becomes cheaper and easier to use, hopefully cities will be able to present their plans to a wider range of urban stakeholders. It's really using digital media to show people what the future is going to be like. So what are the key takeaways for city leaders? We really feel that municipal leaders need to do more to include citizens in smart city projects, rather than managing them solely through public-private partnerships with large technology providers. They need to address issues such as how well cities respond to service requests from citizens and how they use citizen data to plan and improve city services. Cities will only get better if someone answers those complaints. As part of this, urban leaders need to make the shift from seeing citizens as passive consumers of municipal services and generators of data on consumption patterns to active participants in shaping the city's future. The survey points to a particular appetite for hackathons, but cities also need to provide channels for ongoing collaboration. While the citizens in our survey show a willingness to share their data with cities, this willingness could disappear if they find that their data are being used for purposes which they do not approve, or if it falls into the wrong hands. So establishing robust governance frameworks for data use is therefore a priority for cities. One of our interviewees proposed a dashboard approach whereby citizens would control all of their data via a central hub from which they could release them to different entities, whether companies or public sector agencies. He said, "The question is how to give people the tools to manage their data. It's not a job for lawyers or legislators. It's about building the technical capacity to do that." But really, if citizens are willing to hand over their data to city governments, those authorities must return the favor. Many are doing so through dedicated web portals that track local government performance on everything from the repair of potholes to the removal of snow. Apps can also perform this function, giving citizens channels through which to submit feedback on city services, as well as real-time information on the status of those services. But whichever channels they choose, administrators must be prepared to open a window onto their performance and spending patterns, and that is a window that is never closed. one of our interviewees said, earning the trust of citizens is a 24-hour job. Cities do not stop at 5 p.m. And finally, technology, it's a powerful tool, providing different areas of urban management with the means to connect not only with citizens, but with each other. Yet internal silos and top-down approaches to urban management, as well as incompatible legacy systems, risk working against these new technologies and connecting different functions and departments, and could block urban stakeholders from having their voices heard. If these silos are not broken down, investments in software and hardware will not pay off. So the city leaders need to build resources internally and work more collaboratively, both across departmental divisions, as well as with private sector partners. So if you would like to find out more, we have a full report as well as videos, infographics, and a slideshow that you can read these findings in full. You see the website there on your screen. And thank you very much for your time.
Shall we hear the final results, Gianna, of that last poll?
Yes, sure. I was just going to ask if you were curious to hear the results. So I'm having them in front of me. 25% selected the first one, reduced pollution and energy consumption. Then there's 21% that selected reduced traffic congestion in your area. Also, 20% selected faster access to city services and more transparency. 12% selected improved computer networks, and 10% selected a vibrant city life and leisure activities. Another 10% selected improved waste management services. And then we have 6% selecting improvement to quality and affordability of social services. And the last one, no areas, has got 3%.
Okay. Well, that means that we have a slightly more trusting bunch than our survey respondents. I think we had about 20% say that they would not want to share their details under any circumstances. But still, I thought that was a relatively low number, and that was probably one of the most surprising findings from the citizen survey was really the willingness of people to share their data if they believe that it truly will improve city services.